Welcome to South of Left Field. My name is Jimmy, and this is the final part 3 of Walking Across the Field. Part 1, I talked about my upbringing, which was in a Republican conservative environment, or, well, modern day Republican conservative. It really was a Democratic region in the deep, deep South back then. And I left the right side. And of course, I didn't leave everything behind because there were things that appealed to me philosophically. What I got from the right was a sense of obligation as a citizen to vote, a understanding which today would be completely alien, that taxes are something that is our patriotic duty to pay. Feel free to gripe and grumble, but really it is our one duty that all citizens share, that we support our government so that it in turn supports and protects us. Fiscal responsibility, you don't want to dig yourself into too much debt. They're things I came away from the right with. From the right, I went to the left, which the liberal perspective, because in the end, I found that there were really serious values, serious justifications for saying, there needs to be a social safety net. No person is an island. and that's the thing. We aren't intended to be an island, to be utterly self-sufficient. Everybody, practically speaking, falls into a time where they have needs, and sometimes these needs are met through friends, sometimes these needs through family, but sometimes the needs are so severe that that's a place where our government, in fulfilling its duty to protect us, steps in. And so I picked up those values and others too associated with we are not, truly equal, but we should all have equal rights. We should be treated under the law in the same manner, no matter who we are, where we come from. We have the right to live. We have the right to love who we want to love. There's just a lot of fundamental rights that go into making a society rights that is, the society saying we are all valuable. And we're not going to place one person ahead of another. Okay, so we get this from the liberal left. Okay, now there's a lot of things, though, in the left. Well, I left them. And so that puts me into the curious position of center field. Now let's think about center field here for a moment. Center field is supposed to be between the two. That's what I thought when I moved into center field. Because I'm a voter, I'm still actively on the field. And that's the thing. There is only one form of influence that the individual citizen, that all of us Americans together, are supposed to have on our government. And that is through our vote. Not casting it is, just not being a part of the process. And if you're not a part of the process, you have no place, no voice. You're out. So I had a vote, and I'm looking to cast it, and now I'm looking right and left, and I'm looking for something. I'm looking for something that leaves me with a sense that here is a person of some principle whose principles I agree with and I can support. And so, I spent my time running from candidate to candidate and party to party for a lot of years. And in every case, in every circumstance in the end, there's a sense of betrayal and a sense of disappointment that it gradually begins to grow and overwhelms my view of these different politicians. And it seems to be immaterial whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. So now it's time from center field. And this is me voting, between the Republicans and the Democrats because I only see two teams on the field. Why would I leave center field? And it was because the two parties, in so many ways, behave the same. They've got their issues. Now, don't get me wrong. They've got their issues. Abortion, that's a big divide. Gay marriage, that's a big divide. Civil rights, largely a big divide. And it took me a long time to begin to get a feel for it, to put my finger on what was missing. So I'll step to one side. One of my sons recently amused me with a statement. He was somewhat distressed at this area into which I've retired, in which he's also moved. People here pronounce pecan. And he said that's a hill he's willing to die on. It's pecan. Humor aside, it struck me. You know, it's all but impossible to figure out what hill all of our politicians are willing to die on. Where is there one stand where they raise the flag and say, I'm willing to lose an election, but this is what I believe? Well, that's one thing you never hear. I'm willing to lose election, but I believe this. Now, that is something that is seldom brought out. Rather, what I've realized that it doesn't matter which party these politicians are in, they take positions on and off like you and I change clothes, just as easily and just as readily. They'll stand to one crowd and say one thing, they'll turn to another one and say something practically altogether different, and then when people confront them with it, they mealy-mouth back and forth, and the whole point behind it is they're very clearly acting. They're acting. They're just putting on the clothes and saying the phrases that their staffs and their pollsters tell them will get them the most votes. And that's all they're doing. They're doing this dance to get reelected or to get elected. Where's the hill they're willing to die on? These are not leaders. That was something that took me a lot of years to understand. These people aren't leaders. They are not ideological individuals. They don't hew to a philosophy to the point that they're willing to lose an election because of it. When did this happen? Well, I think it's probably been there for a long time. It took me a very long time to realize it. So now let's turn back around, standing in center field, looking at these two parties, everybody swapping clothes every time they talk to a different crowd, every time they get on a stage, every time they give a speech. Depending on where they are and who they're talking to, they'll believe whatever the flavor of the day is. Okay, I know they're acting to get votes. So now I have to come to the question, where's the hill they're willing to die on? What the hell are they up to? What's the point? All this is a glorified job interview. This is not a discussion of serious policies. This is not a discussion of serious philosophies. This is not somebody staking out a hill that they're willing to die on and say, I am running because I believe in this. And if there is not enough support in my constituency to elect me, then I understand that this is not something the people want. You just don't seem to get that anywhere at any time. There are no leaders. They're panderers, lapdogs. But whose lap are they sitting in? I mean, they're obviously running for something. The pay is not all that great. The perks are outstanding, especially at the federal level. My heavens. Health care like nobody else in America could possibly get. Doors to high-paying jobs just standing open everywhere you look. And that is when I began to realize that while they're pandering for our vote, putting on this little dog and pony smoke and mirror dance routine during election times, the people that they're really running for and the hills that they're really prepared to die on are the hills from which the money flows that funds their campaigns and funds the political parties that they've organized themselves into. These people have no interest in representing us. The game is you have to get our vote, and that's it. So they'll pander for our vote. And they'll stand on any little hill for a moment to get our vote. And I'm disgusted with it. And so I went left because left is where the concept that the government is supposed to serve and protect American citizens. Now they'll confuse it. They'll say serve and protect America, but remember, America is its citizens. The political gamesters have surrendered taking care of us medically, taking care of us financially. They have surrendered it to corporations. The whole philosophy of both parties boils down to this. We're going to let the upper class, and we're going to let their corporations and we're going to let their organizations make as much money as humanly possible, tax them as little as humanly possible, tax you, and let them be responsible for providing your health care, because over half of Americans' health care comes from corporations. Corporations are responsible for your health care. Corporations are responsible for you having a job. Corporations are responsible for the level of pay or the lack of pay that you have. We are surrendering our duty as politicians, as members of the United States government. We are surrendering our duty to corporations and to the billionaire elite class. We are surrendering to them and letting them be responsible to do it. We're not responsible for any of that. We're just going to sit here and give you a little song and dance and see if you'll vote for us. So yes, I left. I went left because that's where my heart and that's where my philosophy ended up. Government's duty is to take care of and protect us. And then I went south of the playing field because the field only has two parties, Republican and Democrat, and neither one of them pay any attention to us. They just put on a charade because they need our vote. That's it. And then once they get that vote, we're dirt. And I'm sitting outside the field realizing there needs to be another party. And I'm also realizing that in order for me to have a voice, I have to continue to vote. And that vote needs to be for anything other than the Democrat or a Republican. And until enough Americans start leaving those two parties and start voting for anybody and everybody else, those two parties will not change. They will continue to serve their masters. And we will continue to be dependent on corporations for our very existence. It should not be that way. Well, I'm going to call it right here for this one. And I'm going to pick up with more materials going forward. South of left field. I'm here not because there's a leader here, but because until enough of us get here, there won't be a constituency for a leader. I thought Bernie was going to be that leader. He is not. Bernie is a Democrat. I probably upset a lot of people. Well, I don't have a lot of viewers, so I probably upset some of the few I got. So anyway, thank you for listening. I would appreciate it if you would share this. I mean, this is just one guy, old as I am, and I'm putting my visions and the things I have learned in video form out on the internet. And I am hoping that there may be things that people appreciate hearing. So like my channel, share my channel, and thank you for watching.